for dropping by. I really do appreciate it. Sort of like the first show of the year. This is gonna be a little bit on the painful side, but you know, I really do enjoy hanging out with you guys. So let's start with how we always do, which is fundamental analysis. Always great to have a routine. So we are currently at 25. I know last week we touched all the way to about neutral around 46 or 41. So the fact that we dropped back down to 25 tells me that sentiment's just getting somewhat confident and then just zero confidence. So the good thing here is that it's not dropped into extreme fear. So there's some confidence. Now, if it drops into extreme fear, the contrarian part of me will say that's when we gig along. But for now, we do have like two positions, XRP and Ondo open. So today, hopefully, we get something out of our nothing burger. In terms of the liquidation map here on Bitcoin, we see that it's about even. There is a little bit more to the downside, and you've got clusters about up until 90,000. So that tells me that we're very likely to maybe go down first before we liquidate this cluster up at 93, 94. Moving on to the 7 day, we kind of get the same story we had on the 1 day, where you have these clusters all the way up to about 89, and you have a bigger cluster here. Now you are imbalanced to the downside, so that tells me that we're going to probably range for the foreseeable week. 30 day, sort of the same story, but we could go down as far as 86 according to the cumulative liquidations based on leverage. Now, if we go to the RSI heat map, change this to 12-hour because 4 hours really not that useful, or at least it's too micro. We do see we are neutral for most coins, including the coins that we are in, so XRP and Ondo, but we see that BTC, Solana, these coins and BNB even are bordering on strong and towards overbought. So that tells me that we could look for short opportunities for these coins and also coins like Melania. So this is a meme coin, so very likely that we'll be able to do something with it. I mean, at least from the RSI heat map, it's saying that we could short Solana, but we'll have to look at the technicals to see if that's true. Hey, Sugar Daddy. I'm really sorry I wasn't able to say hi properly earlier. Again, part of the medication's a bunch of antibiotics and decongestants, so side effect is that I'm drowsy, but that's besides the point. Gotta make money even though you're sick, right? It would be terrible if you're sick and you don't make any money. But yeah, so I see that Mile V and Muhammad has dropped in, and someone with a gray Discord profile picture. So thank you guys for dropping by. I'm Langestrom. For those who are new here, we're going over fundamental analysis right now, which we do before TA to help us to help inform sort of how we frame our analysis later on. So looking at BTC USDT here on the liquidation heat map, you are still imbalanced to the downside, at least in the 24-hour, and you've got liquidity clusters around 90 to about, 89.5 to about 90k. You also have one here at 91, and you have here at 93. If we zoom out to the 3 day, you see that we do have a cluster to the upside around 93, but again, you are heavily imbalanced to the downside, and it's projecting at least a drop to 89.5. Go to the 1 week, and this is a little bit more interesting. So we still have clusters around that region that we were sort of discussing earlier. We also have a cluster around here at 93. If we go to the 1 month, I don't think, it's showing all the way down to 86 and an imbalance to the downside. So that does tell me that we're likely going to head down from here to get those liquidity hotspots because of the fact that there isn't that much to the top side anymore. If we do go to the 3 month, you see that we are technically still imbalanced to the upside. So in terms of the long-term outlook, right, going into 2026, I do think we are going to head up. But basically at the start of the year, I do think we're going to range around this region of support and resistance and really just keep us there. So this is basically a kill zone. A lot of market makers and whales like to trade this zone because people either long up here thinking it's a breakout, and then people either short down here thinking it's a fall, and then flip the other way. So it's a high manipulation zone, and we don't want to be on the losing end of those zones. So let me check if there's anything in chat. Doesn't seem like there's anything. So with that said, let's turn off VFA and actually get to the TA, which is the exciting part, as everyone knows. So here I am in Bitcoin, 5 minutes to 1 hour. Now, looking at it from a micro perspective, you do see that we are kind of caught here in this high deficit node, which is also equilibrium. You also see that we're in between the quantum reactor and the dynamic reactor, which, as you guys know, at least in my trading style, this is basically a no trade zone. That said, we do have a peak sell as well as a money flow divergence heading to the downside with a bearish divergence on our CPO plus. So that does tell me that we could fall back down to maybe the dynamic reactor, but right now it's really a question of when and if we can enter that short, because here on the 5 minutes we are nearing oversold. Now if I go zoom out into perhaps a higher time frame for us, let's make this the 1 day, and then I will hide drawings for now just so we can see price action a little better. Right, so we are here for our 1 day. If you look here, we do have a check magnet telling us that we are supposed to get to 90,600. Now, for those who don't have access to the check magnet, it's not necessarily, I wouldn't say it's necessarily an insanely like game-changing indicator, but it does give us an idea of where price could go. And the closer the check magnet is to price action, the less reliable I think it is. So because it's close, it does confirm the idea that we are likely to range. Now, if you do look here on the 1 day, we're still in that sort of ascending triangle that we're making, which doesn't bode well necessarily if we think about, okay, here we go. So the indicators came back. So focus here on the right side of the screen. It doesn't necessarily bode well that we are in this ascending channel and we have this nice pull to the downside. That does tell us that we are in a bear flag. However, momentum overall is bullish, and you can see that money flow is decreasing significantly on the 1 day. So that tells me that we are very likely to test resistance at 94.6 again, and maybe test even up to the upper portion of upper portion of our channel. So I just have to be a little careful with how wide I open my mouth, otherwise it's gonna sting like a real bitch. But anyways, with that said, here on the 4 hour, we are nearing overbought. We are trying to get above our fluid zero line, which tells me that, you know, we are going to at least retest our premium zone, and we can possibly short here at the bearish FVG at around 97. So I'd set alerts for when we go back to the premium zone, 94, and then back here at around 97. So just set alerts there, see what happens. If we get to this FVG, it would probably be a fantastic place to take a short and then see where it bottoms out and then maybe take a long. Now let's go back to our scalping setup, which is the 5 minute 1 hour. Let's look at Ethereum. So excuse me, sorry, what's this? Yeah, so here on Ethereum, we are experiencing a green ribbon transition. We are likely to continue heading up, but just note that we do have a heavily imbalanced liquidity block right here, and we wicked off this resistance right here. So that tells me that Although on the 1 hour we may continue to get upside, once we go overbought on the 1 hour, I'm very I do think that Ethereum is going to basically keel over. If we go to the 4 hour and change this to, let's say, the 30 minutes, so it's a swing setup, we can see that the 618 here on the 4 hour is about 3,200. We have remained bullish, dynamic reactor, dynamic reactor above quantum reactor, but if we go overbought here by the 618 or by previous week high, then that's likely the end of the run. Now, you do have a measured move spanning to this liquidity block. So I would set 3 alerts around 3.2, 3 slightly below 3.32, and then slightly below 3.4, and I'd be prepared to short Ethereum at this point when the 4 hour is overbought and the 30 minutes is also overbought. So yeah. Okay. Let's look at Solana, and let me hide these. So with Solana, it's actually been a while since I've taken a look at Solana. So Solana's basically going to follow Ethereum a little bit. I do think we go overbought here on the 4 hour, and then we can short perhaps to that chick magnet at 139. So with that said, our initial short entry for Solana at 145 sort of still stands, which is interesting. At least the confluence says that it still stands. So we'll basically revisit that short entry a little later and see if we can possibly capitalize on it for the show today. So for those who might be unfamiliar with the with some of my entries or the history of my entries, I do have a trade log shared on my signals channel, which you can access. It's pinned. So we can see here that we do have a Solana short entry at 145, and it's basically waiting. So we're going to modify this slightly so that we can better take advantage of the scenario presented to us here on the 4 hour 30 minutes. Let me check if there's anything in chat. Entry when OB prints. Not necessarily, but basically for those to clarify my strategy, I basically project where OB might print based on possible liquidity resistances and liquidity levels from fundamental analysis, which is why I do look at fundamental analysis a lot. So we want to short at the most likely area where OB prints, so that we basically get the best possible entry for the reversal. Yeah. So for here, it does look like OB might print at around 146, but let's look at some fundamental analysis again to basically, oh, wrong, to better contextualize where we might enter. So let's do 3-day, and then let's go to Solana and see where the liquidity hotspot is. So we can see that it is 145, and that's where we placed our entry initially. But we do see that the premium is pointed a little bit higher on the 4 hour. So let's go here. Let's look at Solana. Go to the 7-day perhaps, because we're swinging. And we do see that we're likely to at least pass until 146. So from there, right, we go back into our trading chart. We see that the minimum for premium is about 146, and let me double check my entry. Our stop loss is at 151.48, so just above this area. So what I want to do is basically enter at around 146.37 instead. I'm just going to edit the Solana chart. So this is the old thing. I'm going to delete this because it's basically old. I'm going to enter right here at around 146.28. I'm going to raise our stop loss just a little bit higher, just so, we have a little bit more leeway to be wrong. Not that we want to be wrong, right? And our final take profit here was 126, so I think I'll keep that. But we basically did go all the way down. We can do something like this instead. But no, we have to aim for 1 to 2.5. That is our ideal. So that does put us at 129. So I'm going to go ahead and edit our Solana short entry to reflect this. It's possible we continue higher even, but based on sort of the liquidity hotspot for those who were here to see it, we were at about 147, and we want to short up until here. Hey Daga, TT, is this Armac? Hey, it's Vamshi. Welcome, guys. Welcome to the show. Again, I do apologize for the way I sound. Ear infection's a bitch. I can't open my jaw as much, so I can't be as excitable. And the doctor was literally just like, we don't know how it happened, but it's inflamed. You gotta rest. So, rough. Oh, man. But yeah. Okay, so let me announce the changes to our Solana short here. And let me also adjust it on the trade log. So that we're changing it to about 146.38. Let's say 146.38. And then we're going to raise the stop loss to 153 just to be on the safer side of things. So 153.22. Final take profit is going to be at 129. So you could do 126, but I'll change it to 129. So that's near our minimum take profit. TP1 will have to change because we're basically doing it from here. So let me grab my fib retracement tool and draw a fib. Or actually, we could do it from this swing low instead to basically protect more downside. And it's saying about 141. That seems about good. So let me go ahead, delete this, and change our thing to 141. Okay, so let's go to the Solana short, if we can find it, because it's quite far up. Nope. These were from last year. Fantastic. Pingu, Ada, BTC. Oh yeah, it was the one without a chart. I forgot to send one. So, Sol short update. Updated entry details. So I'm gonna copy the text here. Post that here. This is 10:18 p.m. So I'll do 10:20. But actually, I sort of want to get to know how everyone's been doing in terms of trading. What positions are you in, and sort of general sentiment on the market right now. Because genuinely, if I'm being 100% real with you guys, I'm a little confused myself, and that's fine, right? To be a little confused by the market is perfectly fine. What is not okay is letting that confusion basically dictate your let's see here. Ooh, my ear. Oh dear. That is not comfortable. All right, let me check. Chat, do you have the link to that document that you showed with all your previous calls? Yep. Thank you, Daga, for sending it over. Don't need to apologize. It happens. You should rest. Thank you. But, I do have a job, and I love this job. I love hanging out with you guys. I only see you guys technically once a week, twice a week. Yeah, twice a week. But, uh, hopefully when we've gotten into the motions of things and uh, my condition's a lot better, we can do 3 times a week. I don't know if you guys want to see me that often, but Alex thinks you guys want to see me that often, so I will take our beloved CEO's word for it. So let me change this back, and maybe we can look for a scalp. Okay, I do see some more questions, so give me a sec, guys. Every day, Saturday, Sunday, also. Are we doing a market or limit order, or is this a trigger order since we want it when it gets to? Oh, don't worry, don't worry about asking questions. I am here to help, right? I'm not gonna bite. And again, fantastic question. If you have any questions about about indicators and whatnot, just let me know. So I am doing a limit order. So when it reaches this area right here, it enters by then. So I know some exchanges, they'll want you to, or they won't let you put limit orders too far. So you can do a trigger order nearby and then put the order at the actual 146.37. Yeah. Do you have any videos for people new to your system, or should I just tune in and glean the technique over time? Great question. So, there is a Google Drive and YouTube link pinned to my channel for essentially how I go over my strategy and my trading routine. So, you can basically go over there, and then it also shows you how I use my calculator and log to stay disciplined. Um, but with that said, we do have time. I mean, we have 8 minutes before market open, and we'll be here for another hour. So essentially, let me grab a blank layout here and just go over how I trade. So for this, let's do BTC, USDT, basic. And then let's go to maybe like the 1 hour. And then I'll start by turning off each indicator one by one, just so we can essentially get a feel for what I do. So we're strictly going to look at price action and the oscillators first, then I'll tell you how I use the other indicators. So I do want to emphasize that, and you brought this up, which is fantastic, right? Everyone has a different style, everyone has a different way of using the tools, right? My rationale is going to be very different from Runaire's. Is going to be very different from Nas. It's going to be different from OC. It's going to be different from Alex. But essentially, what we do, or what all 5 of us have in common, and what we're trying to basically teach you guys, is the fundamentals and maybe some tips and tricks for these indicators. So first things first, let's start with the CPO plus. I'm going to collapse this, and this is our flagship oscillator, right? And I've taken the liberty of removing a couple stuff. So when this is default, you do have like True 7, VWAP, OBOS. And for me, I don't really use those. So it's about that exploration. So figure out which parts of your oscillators or your toolkit that you like, because sometimes you might not need it, or sometimes it might even be a little convoluted for you. So for me, I don't use True 7. I don't do VWAP, OBOS. In fact, I believe by default it's the new shape, so I like the old shape better, and whatnot. I even modified some of the tops and bottoms here, but that's besides the point. So essentially, how I use my CPO plus, or your Chart Prime Oscillator Pro Plus, is how I use it is essentially for direction, of course, the magnitude of that move, which is why I like the old shape, money flow, and volume. So those are kind of big words, I know, and honestly, sometimes we use them as buzzwords. We don't fully understand the difference, say, between money flow or volume. So of course, you have your standard ribbon. This is direction, and then the ribbon size is how I gauge um, the magnitude of the move. So, for example, this move right here is pretty strong, and it translated into a pretty big transition in the ribbon. You see how it like thinned out, got big, and then here it was weakening. It shifted, and it even got smaller. It got narrower, and we had sort of this weak move down, and then that's pretty self-explanatory. Even our documents will tell you that. But what I sort of want to discuss is money flow and volume. So these guys are, I'd say they're a little bit leading, but they are based in um, real market conditions, or like they don't essentially um, repaint as much. Is that the term? Yeah. So it gives you an idea of how money's moving. So how I like to analogize this is volume is the amount of people who bought tickets to a concert, right? So let's say who's going on tour right now, Bruno Mars. Let's say that there are plenty of people who at this point decided, oh, Bruno Mars is coming out, let me buy as much tickets as I can. So they're buying tickets, right? So good bullish volume. But then we see that money flow is contradicting bullish volume. Money flow here is negative, which means there's money outflow. So how we reconcile that is people are buying concert tickets, but people are basically dumping their merch of Bruno Mars. So there's basically this selling pressure that even if overall there are more people buying, the quality of those buyers aren't outdoing the the quality of sellers. So there are less sellers, but they're selling more. And which is why when you get conditions like this, you sort of just range. It's not really that reliable. Measures how much, blah. Exactly. So thank you, Daga. Uh, that's the more, how do I say this? Oh, that's the literal definition of it. And of course, we're painting a picture here. But thank you so much, Daga. Yeah, no, honestly, if Daga was not here, my life would be so much harder. So I'm glad he's here. Genuinely, I get a little scared when streams and Daga doesn't show up. But thank you so much, Daga. Really doing God's work here. So the opposite is true. People are buying merch when money flow is green, and yeah. Oh, give me one sec, guys. All right, I'm back, and let me just spray so you don't infect other things. But yeah, so of course, you have your divergences, and they just tell you whether a move is getting exhausted or possibly shift in the direction. And that's how I use the Oscillator Pro Plus. Now, we do have market open right now, and while we got that big wick, it looks like we're traveling above it. So that translates to, let's look at Solana right here. It could reach our entry soon. XRP's pushing up, so that's good. We are cashing out on XRP. Well, not cashing out, but we are making cash with XRP. Now, another thing that I find very useful is going to be momentum. So, again, magnitude, strength of the move, but momentum tells you whether or not the direction is going to be sustained. And for that, I use the MVP oscillator. So, it's superior compared to the MACD for me because you're basically able to gauge magnitude again. Whereas with MACD, it just raises up and then you don't know if it's gonna fall off, right? At least in ribbon form, you're able to gauge magnitude, but also you're able to gauge support and resistance. Now, this isn't built into the toolkit, so this is something we call the Fluid Zero line. It's essentially a 144 SMA that's plotted onto the oscillator. And if you need an in-depth tutorial on how to do this, it's also within the video I pinned either Google Drive or YouTube in my channel. But I guess for old time's sake, because usually we do it anyways, let's do it again. So just type in MA Ribbon if you have the TradingView subscription package for it. If not, just look for any sort of indicator that lets you. Oh, wrong. Oopsie. Alright, so click the three dots, add indicator. My bad. Don't want to misinform the people here. That would be terrible. So you want to just have one moving average. So for me, it's this. I'll change it to 144. You can experiment with the kind of moving average you want, but I go with SMA because that's what I'm most comfortable with. I change it to white for visibility. Then I raise the thickness a bit. Then I turn this off for aesthetics. These aren't really needed. And 144 is essentially based on the Fibonacci sequence. So that's the scientific reason of why we choose 144. And then from there, from settings, make sure that the source, so it's this button, is on the second to the last plot. And with that, you get your moving average fluid zero line. Now what's great about this is you can see that when we get to the fluid zero line, it essentially acts as the true center or a great support and resistance for the ribbon. You see we enter here, we break past it slightly, leave a wick, but essentially we bounced off it, we continued our move, right? And we did it again right over here. And over here, when we got to the fluid zero line, you can see we got rejected, we pushed back down. We got above it slightly, but then we still keeled over, we got rejected and pushed back down. So it's really useful for those instances where you need to know whether a move continues. So you gotta wait a little bit, but that waiting time pays off because, for example, right here, momentum bounces off the fluid zero line and continues. So that's how I use the MVP oscillator, and you can basically analyze this top to bottom. So this is direction, right? Now we're sort of a bit bearish. The move is essentially exhausted, but momentum is still overall bullish. Now if we continue to keel down like this, then we continue down, but we can see that in terms of direction, both are kind of pointing or wanting to basically point back to the upside. So we're likely to still get some upside move here on Bitcoin. Now, let's look at the Market Oracle Pro Plus. So what's useful about the Market Oracle for me is the reactors. So for those that aren't super familiar with the documentation, right? The reactors essentially are just special moving averages that let you better understand whether a move is actually bullish or bearish. So you can see here that when we do get a cross, it's usually followed by a pretty strong bullish move here on the cross. When we do get a bearish cross, it's followed by usually some bearish moves. Now, we can see here that the quantum reactor is gray. The quantum reactor basically lets you know whether a move is legit or not. How honest is the move? Because it could be a fake out, right? So we're basically testing it right now. And if the dynamic reactor gets above the quantum reactor, we're likely to see a little bit more upside until we go overbought. So that's how I use the reactors. I use them as my short and long moving averages. There's no set for a single chart. It's based on quite a few different calculations that I am not entirely familiar with, but I found them to be quite accurate. Now, dynamics lets you know potential support and resistances, as well as liquidity zones where a possible reversal might occur, or support and resistance essentially. So you can turn off the volume profile. I like using the volume profile just as a way to gauge areas in which, if it's completely blank, like if I turn off the volume profile, it doesn't really elucidate why moves sort of stall. But if you see that this area has a lot of deficit, then of course you're going to stall where there's a lot of deficit. And it is also useful to also determine possible areas in which smart money is likely to enter, because when you have low volume, low deficit, smart money likes to enter there. So I'll turn them off for now just for visibility. So the Fibonacci Archer box, it's just a great tool. It's free, so you can use it. It just tells you where the 618 is based on sort of the structure that's being made right now. So this is by Chart Prime. And the whale kit is just a nice little addition to where price action could possibly go in terms of a target. So this is what I was saying, where the ribbon is flipping, and if we close like this on the 1 hour, then we're likely going to head up to at least our premium zone at 94.8. Now let's look back at Solana. So Solana is basically attempting to get to our entry. Let me lock this. But I'm doubling down on our entry for Solana, but I'm noticing that we do have an FVG here on the 1 hour. So we could potentially push our entry up to this point because, you know, if this continues, then we can be in drawdown and we'd be in trouble. There are two market dynamics indicators. I believe one of them says staging, so you want to use... I use the one that doesn't say staging. Yeah, I use the... Wait, let me pull it out. Yeah, I just use Market Dynamics Pro, not the staging branch one. So I do think now that we've looked at the 1 hour, which is pretty useful, right? I do want to push it up to the FEG. So I'm going to edit this entry, push it up to the FEG, and that will basically allow us to get possibly a better entry. So for those unfamiliar, FVGs are liquidity magnets. They're left by inefficiencies in the order book. And price likes to go back to these inefficiencies as an idea for fair market value. So they're not necessarily because there's liquidity there, but more because the algorithm needs to provide fair value as much as possible. Let me look at the chat. Another is a bit... Yeah, it's basically a beta version. Of course. Thanks, DaggerDT, for responding. Thank you. It really helps because my jaw is like on the verge of collapse at the moment. Let me modify this a little bit. So what is the entry? 147.85. Yeah, it could possibly wick. So I do like using FVGs as potential entries because, you know, probabilities do say that they're likely... Oh, that is not Bluefin. I just opened one of my mobile games. That is hilarious. But yeah. Let me just continue on this. Open orders. Let me modify this. So I'm also going to announce that I modified it again. And SL will be at 154. Okay, that should be pretty decent. But I do feel pretty good about this. The beta one gives buy and sells. Interesting. Really? That is interesting. But yeah, let me... Do you use some futures terminal? What do you mean by futures terminal? Really, that is interesting. Interesting. Wait, let me check it out. I actually did not know. So, is it like what's the term for it? Is it SI USD or what's it called? But if you know, first for silver, I mean. All right, no worries. Hold on. Also, I may or may not do a live tomorrow, but if I do a live tomorrow, it might only be 1 hour long, just so I can rest a little bit. Because honestly, it's kind of weird. Like if I describe the sensation to you guys, it's like I have like an earphone like this in my left ear perpetually, and so it feels so weird. And like I keep trying to remove the earphone, but it's not there. And it's happened so many times. Even when I was going up to the doctor, they were like, "Let me look at your left ear," and I went, "Oh, all right." Just freaking miming my way in the doctor's office. Unbelievable. Go to the minute. Yeah, no, I already got a prescription. No, no worries. I am a responsible person. I'd like to think I am. Yeah. Oh, it's called SAG. Interesting. Oh, that's so cool. Then I can trade precious metals with you guys now. Oh, that's perfect. Okay, we can. Yeah, gold too. I saw XAU. This is perfect, guys. So Langstrom can now join in the precious metals game. Oh, it's perfect. Okay. Welcome, Cranium, and I'm not sure I greeted everyone here. Again, I apologize if I'm not able to greet you exactly because your names are truncated, so I can't fully see. Oh, um, hey, Bolosito, welcome. Um, but yeah, for some of you guys, I think your usernames are just a little bit long, so my Discord doesn't like you, and I'm really sorry. It doesn't mean I don't like you. I absolutely love you guys, so. New pairs to get liquidated, absolutely. But yeah, um, yeah, it looks like we still got about an hour. Let me just turn this off because it is far too cold. I've been using AXI trading platform since I'm in Puerto Rico for trading silver. Oh, nice, nice. What's the weather like at Puerto Rico right now? Yeah, this is perfect. I absolutely love that we have precious metals on Bluefin. It's wonderful. Actually, I've noticed that it's also not like incredibly hot here in the Philippines because normally your skin kind of melts, at least in the capital. But right now it's not too hot, which is pretty nice. Yeah. But yeah. Like this is potentially a double bottom right here. So I don't really know what Solana's doing right now, but I do think we get to that FEG here in the 1 hour. Yeah, on BingX you can 500x NOS. Risk $30 and made 360 on silver 296. Nice. You know what? If Blowfin had the thing already, my call here on silver, right here would have been pretty good. Now, of course, it's in drawdown because I'm not monitoring it. But I remember I forgot who, but I said enter here and then bring it all the way to this arrow, and then it worked pretty well. This would have been like TP1 SLBE. So now that it's doing this, I think it's just a matter of waiting. But now that I can trade silver, there's a little bit more excitement that we can do because I'm being a little cautious on cryptocurrencies at the moment. Crazy, man. To be fair, uh, I would probably do like 0.5% or maybe 0.1% of my total portfolio, 1000x, and then enter normally. But if we're talking about overnight gains, what I would do is I'd set some like a pretty decent sum that I'm completely willing to lose, and basically I'll treat it as complete gambling away, right? And then you use like a 1% of that, and then 1000x, and then trade it. Yeah, but yeah, I am a little bit fearful of the fact that gold and silver have just been on a roll. That's not to say that they're not fantastic, right? But everything has to come down eventually. And the more interest you get in a certain asset class, the more likely it is that they're going to pull the rug under you. Yeah. So it's interesting, your target or potential price here on silver is going to be around this area. In fact, why don't we look at silver? Like genuinely look at silver and potentially trade it. So let's look at the 1 hour here on silver. Essentially, what I'm waiting for is some topping signal on our CPO plus. Then I'm gonna short it back down to the chick magnet, right? So let's wait for it. So, I mean, falling wedge, pretty nice, right? Even the 1 hour does say you kind of want to come down. So while it's in price discovery, I'm just gonna set an alert at 89. See how it goes, and then I will go to the 1 day real quick. See what it's looking like on the 1 day. I mean, you're very far from your moving averages, right? But you are transitioning. You can see that your fluid zero line's on the verge of breaking. So really, I don't think this is sustainable. Then again, I don't think anyone thinks it's sustainable unless you're some crackhead. But, you know, is what it is sometimes. So what I'm looking at here, right? We need to go overbought. So quite literally, I will set an alert for the 1 day or and the 12 hour to go overbought. Add alert. So I'm gonna put one on silver 1 day as well as 12 hour, because the moment we do, I do feel we're going to get a nice little clean short that we could execute. So same thing. So for those guys who don't know, you can just triple dot add alert and then create. So that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, it does. I do think. I mean, that's why that arrow that I drew when we started this session has been was very cool, because it bounced right where the arrow ended. And I remember when we were drawing that, there was basically some sort of confluence there. I forget if it's a check magnet or support, but I just drew it to that arrow and I said, "This is your TPSL1, TPSL1, TP1 SL to break even." So zero risk basically. That is true. So that's a trend following strategy. I'm a contrarian by nature because that's how banks essentially are able to regulate prices, and that's why I do contrarian trading. But either style is fine, right? So long as you're able to make money, then it really doesn't matter. There's a case for both. So it's really also a matter of what's your weighing the pros and cons and what's your feel for it. Because the pro of contrarian trading is that basically we're able to get the reversals, maximize your profits, and there's a bunch of FA that can tell you whether or not it is going to reverse. Whereas with a trend following strategy, you've got more confirmation, definitely a little less risk, right? But then you could be at the cusp of a reversal and not know because your moving averages have lagged a little bit. So it's always just pros and cons. I know that the other pro analysts are more trend following, so I'm definitely one more of the contrarian in the among the three. So you get the taste of both worlds. Can you also check out gold, please? Absolutely. Let's check out gold. Okay. Oh, don't want to drop the sanitizer. There's my lifeline at the moment. Oh, that's you. Uh, Actually, I want to check. That's not the term. So, I guess XAU.P isn't on, um, or at least for Blowfin isn't there yet, but it, at least here on TradingView, but it is on the actual exchange, so that's pretty cool. I guess just as a reference, we can do this, and then keep the symbol the same. What is this? Interesting. Although it's kind of difficult for me to look at that real quick, so I'll look at it after the show. So we still have 30 minutes on the show. Now 1 hour, 12 hour. It's rough. You're basically looking for all time highs. You're in price discovery. You are getting a break of structure here, but there's not enough data. So actually, let's just do the regular gold, because then um, then we can actually look at this stuff. So what ticker do you guys use for gold? I'm curious. Ooh, not good. Oh, okay. Okay, my bad. XAUT USDT, perfect. Okay, so 1 hour, you know, 1 hour does say you continue up. 12 hour thinks so as well. We're looking for exhaustion, right? So we zoom out to the 1 day. I do think we'll get the same scenario here. Yeah, so 1 day isn't exhausted yet, but note that all of our price targets are saying down. So I'd set alerts. Um, I do think 4-7 is possible, and then I just add an alert that you're on the 1 day. Um, no, it has to be from the CPO plus, so we can get an idea. And essentially, what we're potentially looking for here is a short down to about 4465. So I don't think it's ready to short. I mean, all of our indicators are saying it's headed up. Money flow is good. Volume transitioning. Momentum is pointed up, but notice your fluid zero line is very high up. So the time for when to short gold is not yet here. Gold and silver, it's not yet here, but it's coming. That's the only thing we know, and we want to be able to capitalize on that move when it does happen. Welcome BTZ. I do see that we have, yeah, actually, same people. So thank you guys for sticking with me on the show. I know I'm not as excitable today, but you know, ooh, it's really cold actually. I'm gonna lower the AC a bit. Give me 1 sec, guys. All right, I am back. Let me turn on my camera again. Hey guys. Uh, whew, okay. Let's look at our cryptocurrencies, because I feel like they need a little bit more love right now. I say that as if the cryptocurrency has a mind of its own. Oh, Solana, don't do this to me, buddy. Please don't do this to me. You were so close. Come on. You're at the cusp of greatness. Let's look at XRP. XRP overbought here under 15 minutes. 1 day, potentially moving. I do think XRP continues to go up, so I'm not too worried about XRP. Granted, we haven't reached our ideal TP1 SLBE, so I have just been watching it. So for those who don't know, our TP SL1BE is around here at 2.18. Kind of a crude drawing, but it's somewhere there. And we're basically just waiting for it to get there at this point. And we entered right here, minimal drawdown. And yeah. So, but 15 minutes is overbought, which is not ideal. Smart targets and measure moves are still intact. Do you think BTC will retrace or gradual upwards? Now, if we zoom out, right, even let's say to the 12-hour, if we zoom out, it does look like a gradual upwards is in order, right? But the thing about this is a liquidity block right here. So it's potential BTC does another bottom, then heads upward and then tests this area, right? But until then, we're not really too sure. But we can rest easy in the fact that CPO Plus does think we head up. Momentum is overall bullish, and it is making that twist here on the MVP ribbon. So I do think that a potential double bottom scenario is likely, something like this. It's not going to be a drastic bottom, right? It could even be a cup and handle sort of thing where it does this, right? It could do something like that. That said, only time will tell. My bias again is gradual upwards, but I'm open to the possibility of double bottoming on BTC. Granted, we do have to watch out because this is a ascending channel, which usually breaks at the downside. I mean, it's possible, right, that it breaks at the top side. Let's not discount anything. Anything can happen. So it's possible it breaks at the top side, but we have to also be ready for when it breaks to the downside, just like that. Okay, I see BZ's typing, but you go ahead. I am ready. Curious on BTC also. I purchased short at its most recent peak today. So what price do you think may be a bottom? Ooh, good question. It's always very difficult to answer this kind of question because anything can happen, right? But right now, based on what I'm seeing, the lowest possible bottom I can think of is about 89, right? If it makes that double bottom. But yeah, again, open to the possibility that it goes down back to 80k, maybe even 83k. It's possible, right, that this completely fails and we break out of the ascending channel, but we find support right here because we found support there 1, 2, 3 times, which is also why we have a long sort of just waiting there just in case, because it can happen in a flash. So for me, if we get caught up and look at this, like just this, yes, there is logic to just looking at this and you can say, oh, double bottom, right? But there's also logic in looking out into more macro and seeing, oh, potential bottom or a macro support right here. So for me, I set my sights at the lowest possibly being 89 in the immediate term, but I am open to possibly getting our bottom at around 80k to around 83. So I am getting alerts. So Pengu, Arbitrum. Oh, my brain's failing me now. And Arkham are overbought. ETH is overbought as well. So, oh yeah, one coin we wanted to look at was Melania. So let's pull up Melania. Melania USDT.p. Let's pull up below fin. All right, I'll be happy with a drop back to 91 or 90. Yeah, I would be happy too. You're very welcome. Uh, okay, so double top here, looking like a nice McDonald's on Melania, or M for Melania, could be. You do have your chick magnet down here to 0.17. Um, we kind of missed the move though, I would say. Should have looked at it a little earlier. But let's look at the 4 hour. Maybe it can elucidate us. Because basically on this little retest right here, it would have been a great place to. It's a trend following strategy to just wait for this, then short, right? The 4R is overbought as heck, right? So with momentum like this, I'd wait for it to shift a little bit more. But it would be interesting to short Melania at market. I am a little worried, however, that I mean, or you can wait for we can wait for like a tiny retest of the candle around this area, and see what it does from there, like around this point. So that would translate to the POC here on the 15 minutes, at 0.19, or the premium at 0.1962. So let's just wait and see. So I am looking to short precious metals eventually. Uh, and looking for a potential entry to short here in Melania. Don't know why it's pumping, but I mean, look at that gap. Even on the 4 hour, just a massive jump. I mean, that's concerning because cryptocurrencies open 24/7, so you don't usually see gaps like this unless it's incredibly volatile. Which it looks like it is. I know it's highly esteemed. I mean, it's based uh on a first lady, right? Uh, I mean, because of the nature of Melania, I wouldn't put big orders necessarily, but it does have volume and interest for some reason. So I don't know the degens who are trading Melania, but they seem to be they seem to be loving it. Oh man. Actually, why don't we look at our old friend Pippin? I mean, it did make us money, but I don't know what it's up to these days. I never bothered to check on it again. Oh, okay, that's fun. So it finally did decide to fall, which is fantastic. That said, it looks like it wants to go up again, which I don't know if we want a long such a shit coin, but you know. I'm gonna have to turn off my camera just because of some discomfort, but I'll still be here, so don't worry, guys. I'm not leaving anytime soon. Well, technically, I'm leaving in 25 minutes, but 25 minutes is a long time from now. Well, we'll have to trade with 100 USD like the old days. Yeah. um, Another coin that's sort of contrarian. Actually, how is Zek? Zek is dying. Fantastic. Really sad about the Zek short. I mean, it really could have been something. But, things are what they are sometimes. Oh man. Okay, so Melania is headed back up. This is sort of what I was expecting and also worried about. Uh, but I'd wait for it a little bit. Ow. How is Sui? Sui's at 1.8. Actually, I haven't looked at Sui for a while. Ooh, 30-minute Doge. Bullish bullish cross on the reactors. 4 hour also signaling potential move to the upside. Ooh. Interesting. I'd set an alert for Doge here at 0.13981. Potential long entry. Also here by the near the chick magnet on the 1 hour. Just because if we fall off here, right, you're very likely to basically get a continuation of the 4 hour, which is red over here. Oh, that's 1 hour. 4 hour. Is this Connor Kenny by any chance? Yeah, I love the guy. Yeah, I love Connor. So it is true that there does seem to be some relationship between Doge and BTC. I mean, of the meme coins, right? Doge is the biggest meme coin. It's basically the BTC of memes. So, how I would go about it is, um, just it is nice to know that they are tied in some way, right? So when you look at Doge, you can look at BTC and vice versa. Just know that the magnitude in which one moves will be affected by the other. So if Doge falls, BTC usually doesn't fall as hard. But if BTC falls, Doge does fall as well. Now they follow each other, but then Doge will always fall and rise harder than BTC. So just be a little careful. Um, but I do like trading Doge. I mean, there was this. We had one trade over the new year that we got stopped out, but then just like a few hours later, it hit full take profit. That was really one of the, we call that thought gut here in the Philippines, like the one that got away. So that was my New Year. The trade, how do I phrase this? It was that trade on New Year that got away. Very annoying, but it is what it is. So I love Connor Kenny. Um, so actually one of the only few contrarian traders I know, like popular contrarian traders I know. The other one would be like Tyler Hill. Um, but in any case, uh, yeah. So he makes a lot of sense, at least to me, and yeah, I'm surprised you follow him. Good person to follow. One of the only few that won't bullshit you, in my opinion. Yeah, yeah, because you know some channels are out there to sell you on crap, but you know makes a lot of sense. Actually, I don't even know if the guy sleeps, but you know it is what it is. Uh, let's see here. Melania. Okay, this was the 15-minute candle on Melania. Let's just wait for it to close. If we get a continuation, then we can potentially scalp short Melania, stop loss above the POC. But if not, and this is sort of a bottom, like if it closes like that, then we're going to basically get some upside, right? Because you can look at this as continuation down, or you can look at this as a bottom, and then this is another bottom. Then you get a retest up. CPO Plus does seem to say or favor a downside move, but price action is saying that you're likely to go up. So the CPO Plus might flatten out on this next move. I think it's on. He was asking Sugar Daddy. Yeah, that is a feature that I think I've only seen on Bybit, which is interesting. But yeah, so we still got about 17 minutes. I'm still gonna be on air for sure. So if there's anyone who has any questions about indicators or how I trade, just let me know. I see that uh, Gobluth is here. Welcome to the show. I'm Langestrom. Desmond, it's been a while. Welcome. I miss your old profile picture. I hope you feel better soon. Thank you so much. Yeah, honestly, last week I had that cold. That was annoying, and I just had to um, keep excusing myself. And then now I've got an ear infection, which is just outright even more annoying because my inside voice is basically reverberating in my skull, and it hurts to open my jaw too wide. Thank you. And yes, thank you, Daga DT, for always helping out. I do appreciate it so much. Especially right now as a sick boy. Oh, Dimitar. Hi, welcome. Thanks for dropping by. Yeah, yeah, what happened to your profile picture, Desmond? Did you just remove it? It was really cool. The shades and whatnot. Okay. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Oh my goodness. So XRP's falling. Kind of want to put alerts here. Alright. That's a pretty. If you can close below above the wick, that would be nice. School going good? Yeah. School's doing okay. I did have to skip out one of my classes to go get my ear checked, but overall it's pretty good. Not too worried. It's my last year in college, in undergrad, and then I'll be off to law school. So maybe I'll be changing my name to Attorney Langstrom in the future. We'll have to see. Attorney Langstrom. How old am I? I'm 21. Going on to 22 this year. Yeah. No, don't worry about it. If it makes you feel better, I have grandnephews and grandnieces. Is Shiba Inu coin worth trading because of the small value unit? I mean, I don't know much about Shiba Inu to tell you the truth, but given that it has low market cap, it's definitely more of a high risk, high reward coin. And not only that, because it's a meme coin, you're likely to fall harder than other coins because SHIB. Okay, sorry, it's SHIB. Yeah, SHIB. You are likely to fall harder than other coins. That said, it is kind of following the rest of the market, right? And if you, if you look at just price action on the 1 hour, it's just ranging right now. Kind of hard to tell where it wants to go. So I'd stay away from SHIB at the moment. But if you get instances like this, right, then this would have been a um, great trend following way of getting into SHIB. You could have entered here or here. But right now, because of how choppy the market as a whole is, I'd stay away from SHIB. Yeah, if it makes again trigger daddy, if it makes you feel better, I have a grandnephew and like three grandnieces. So my eldest brother, I believe he's a senior already. He's like 61 years old. So I'm actually the youngest in the family. Yeah. So complicated family, but I am the youngest. Uh, Fun facts with Langstrom, I guess. That shouldn't be a segment for the show, but it is what it is. So I'm the youngest in the family. Uh, a lot of my peers in school and just like professors in general will say I have an old soul. Like the way I carry myself and interacts more of like a Gen X. So I don't know. It is useful to be a little bit more on the mature side among my peers. Okay, Doge is falling. Let's look at Doge again. Alright. Take care, currency value. Value? But take care. I hope you have a wonderful day as well. And the show's recorded, so in case any of you want to check it out after the show, it'll be in TA class, in class recordings as soon as I'm able to process it. Because these videos are like 4 GB when they come out, so you gotta lower it, you know. But yeah, thank you, Gur. Take care. Have a wonderful day. There's still 10 minutes on the show. Wait, I'm not ending the show for anyone. Um, if anyone's concerned, I'm not ending the show until another 10 minutes. Yeah. Sol nearing VWAP. Let's go Solana. Let me pull up a rolling VWAP because I don't have VWAP right now. So I'll just use the one by TradingView. Cause so it's up there. That's not useful. Let's do 1 hour for the VWAP. Oh yeah, it is by the VWAP here in the hour. Excuse me. Okay, let's make this a thick boy, and then change all of these because they're useless. Yeah. I mean, if we continue to bounce off the dynamic reactor, that would be nice. But if not, then we can expect downside. Now, because of how things are looking on a macro setting, for example, on XRP one day, you see money outflows decreasing, right? And you are transitioning, but you are transitioning again. I think. Let's zoom in. Actually, you might be No, you're not transitioning again. My bad. But essentially, what I am looking at here on XRP and a couple coins is that they continue to push to the upside for a while. But I might close XRP at the smart target measured moves depending on the situation. But right now, if you are in XRP, you should be in profits. You're at 9 minutes on the show. Let me see who else is here. Percival, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. Um, yeah, if any of you guys have questions, just let me know. But yeah, I'm really not liking how choppy the market's been. Still no signal to short gold entirely. Okay, but I guess just as a general recap, we are entering a soul swing here at 147.85. It's the FEG on the 1 hour. We're expecting to be overbought by then. And in terms of fundamental analysis, this does look like a decent spot. We're also looking to potentially short precious metals here on Blofin because they have the tokenized precious metal, both gold and silver. But we're just waiting a little bit because we need a little bit more confluence uh, that the macro time frame is going overbought. Because right now, if we don't have that, it's very unlikely for us to get a successful short. Uh, our current trades that are open, XRP and Ondo, seem to still be doing decently well. Ondo is pushing up, or at least it's here. Right, XRP, slightly in profits, not a lot, but still profits. Um, I guess let's look at BTC's macro Elliott wave. Now it's projecting some very scary stuff here. Right, these are brand new projections, down to 66, 49, even down to 20, which I highly doubt. But we still have our upward projections intact with the 1 week golden zone being right above your 200-day moving average. If our CPO plus is right, we're likely to continue back to the upside right here. And in which case, depending on the exchange, the last time we went oversold, it followed by a small tiny keel and then a massive push to the upside. Now, if we look at Bitcoin dominance, right here on the 1 week, we did project last week that this was going to head up. And so far, it's looking like it will, which tells me that the market is going to be volatile again. It's going to follow BTC a lot. And we're very likely going to see a retest of about 60% and in case Bitcoin dumps, the whole market's gonna dump with it. So not looking fun. For the rest of the week, there are a lot of news that we're gonna have to cover. I'm probably going to send a short rundown of what we can expect and the kind of volatility we're expecting. But generally speaking, we are going to see, or we're supposed to see, a pretty interesting week. But so far, it's all been chopped, which is not interesting at all. In fact, it's really just annoying. So now that Blowfin does carry precious metals, if any of you guys are in Blowfin, Langstrom is throwing his hat into the precious metal ring. I'll be looking at it tonight. Well, it's morning over there for some of you guys, but I'll be looking at it tonight. Then getting some rest, and then looking at it again tomorrow to see if there is anything worthwhile in the precious metal market. Now we still have 4 minutes, so if there are any last minute questions or things you want to tell me, whether that's for indicators, coins you want to look at, just let me know. Because 4 minutes. Let's maximize the last set. The remaining time we have on stream. Because tomorrow's stream is gonna be, it's either gonna happen or it's gonna be super short, like an hour. Because I told OC about my condition, which again I really hate because I don't like being uncomfortable for streams. But yeah, let me know, guys, if you have any questions. I mean, guys, just look at this. This is just diabolically boring. Up, up, up. No, same where we started. We started the show around. We started the show at, well, 10. Yeah, so here. So we closed here at 10. So we're basically where we started, and that's really not a lot, right? Really annoying. But, it is what it is with these markets. But yeah. Um, Again, guys, if you need, or if you're a little confused or you don't know where my entries are, my log is just pinned in my channel, so feel free to check that out. But I do think it's time for me to end the stream, and I'll tell you guys if I am going to show up for tomorrow's stream or not, depending on whether my condition gets better. Oh, how long do you anticipate soul trading lasting? Uh, Based on this, possibly a couple days. Maybe it's gonna be intro week for sure. Not longer than a week. So maybe like 3 days at most. But if we get there, hopefully it doesn't take us too long to reach our final TP. But with that said, thank you guys so much for dropping by. I really do appreciate it. I apologize again that last week I had colds. This week I got an ear infection. I don't know how these are happening, but it is what it is sometimes. But with that said, thank you guys so much for dropping by. Once again, I am Langstrom, and don't forget to always use a stop loss. See you guys.